Hello everyone, my name is Chad and today I'm starting with the first video in a series I'm going to be calling How to Edit Videos in Premiere Pro. In my tutorials, I will be teaching all of the essentials to editing the projects you have, such as indie short films, YouTube videos, vlogs, funny moments for video games, and so on. Today, since it's the first video, we are going to start off with simple stuff. I will be going over how to start your project and what each of the settings mean. I will also be going through how to manage the workspace as well as giving a brief introduction on how each panel is used. Lastly, I'll be explaining and demonstrating how to import video as well as creating a sequence so that you can get your project started with ease and get straight into the hardcore editing that we all want to be doing. Okay, so when you first open Premiere Pro, this is the page that will come up, and if you're a first-time user, these options down here will not be available. These options are only available because these are projects that I've recently opened up in my Premiere Pro project, and they will basically show up on the home page and be there just for you to quickly open. So if I were to click on one of these, it'd open up the project and everything that has to do with that right away. But we're going to ignore those for now, and we're going to go over here to new project, and we're going to click on that. This will bring up this page, which has a bunch of different options here, including scratch discs and all that stuff. And I'm going to go over what all of this stuff does right now. So right here at the top, this is location. If you were to click browse, you could change the location. Like for example, maybe I don't want it saved in the 13.0 folder that it saves in generally. So maybe I could go back to, my hard drive here, Chad project, and mess with that. But for today's purposes, I'm just going to leave that there. For the renderer, I'm going to change that actually to GPU acceleration. Don't know why it was set to that, but the GPU acceleration, otherwise known as CUDA, for those who care about acronyms, basically makes it to where the computer will process rendering faster using the graphics card that's inside of your computer. Mercury Playback Engine software is just the built-in Premiere Pro software without help from your graphics card to render out your videos, and it goes a little bit easier on your computer. Display format has to do with how the time is counted in your video. So if you look, once we open the project, I'll show you. Excuse me. I'll show you that there's a timer on the project panel that will count up as you're playing your timeline, as it should, just like in any other movie or like a DVD player would. If you change that to feet and frames, that counts in a film format, and then if you change it directly to frames, like if I could fast forward 1200 frames through the video, and that's a certain amount of time. Generally, I say when you're working with people or you're doing a project for somebody, or you just don't want to learn what the other three have to do with, I would suggest to keep it on timecode, because that's just an easier way of understanding. They teach time in school, and that's what it goes by. Display format, I always keep it on audio samples. I've never had the need to change this over to milliseconds. Capture format, I don't really know what HDV does, but I'm gonna guess it's higher definition than this. I don't think that matters for your project, especially if you're using 4K video or high definition video for anything. So I just leave it at DV, and I've always had really good exports. When I go to scratch discs, this is basically where you can view your hard drives and what paths are going to each individual drive. This is good because if you're editing a monstrous project and you've got this cache file that's full on your SSD, which it appears that I've got almost no room left in my SSD, so that's a problem. You can go here and you can go here and you can change the location of which your files are saved to. So that's good. In terms of captured audio, and video previews and all that stuff, you can change all the different locations independently so that you can put them all in different hard drives and save yourself a lot of space if you really, really want. And ingest settings, I've never found a use for this or what this really does. So if anybody knows, just put it down in the comments. But otherwise, I've never seen, this has never been something that I've had to change. So we're going to go back to general, and I'm going to name this project. I'm just going to simply name it test project. And then I'm going to click OK. And it should, this project already, yeah, it doesn't matter. That was just overwriting the current file that I had. So it'll actually pull up a learning space that looks, let me redesign it for you guys, like this. That's not exactly correct. Should look something like this if you're a first-time user. So this is the Premiere Pro work interface, and these panels all have their own individual uses, which we'll go over in a second. But right now I'm going to go over the learning workspace. So Premiere Pro offers a bunch of different videos and stuff like that once you buy their software to kind of get you started on the program. But you can save yourself the time and not really have to watch those because you're sitting here watching this video, which is awesome. So what you're going to do is you're just going to simply click on this, and you can click close panel, and that will then make this stretched out bigger so that you have a bigger workspace to work with, and that learn tab's not taking up a bunch of room over here. So the different panels have a lot of different uses. I'll start right here with source. Source is basically, or actually I'll start down here with the project media folder, or project media panel, I guess you would say. So the project media panel actually will start like this in icon view, and what that does is basically when you import your video, it all shows up here, and it'll show up as a bunch of different like not watermarks, but I'm forgetting the word, but it'll show up as a bunch of different pictures of what like the video is and stuff like that, and you can grab and you can move it over just like you could in Final Cut. But I prefer to work in list view, which you'll see later when I import the media into this project, as I will later in the video. That's where all of your media will actually show up. It's easier to see this in assembly view because it gets huge if you don't want to like create this workspace on your own. But back to learning. The source is where when you double click on any of your media in here, it will pop up in the source monitor, and you can scrub through and you can look and you can add an in and an out, and then you can take that in and out and you can select it and you can move it onto your timeline, which the timeline basically acts as the workbench of Premiere. When you take all your video and you're cutting it up and stuff like that, you're doing that on the timeline. When you take all your video and you're editing and adding effects and stuff, you're dragging effects from this effects page right here, which I will explain in a second, and you're moving it onto clips that are on the timeline. You don't do any of your editing to clips that are right here because that just doesn't do anything. It'll actually, like, if you take an effect and you try and drag it onto here, it'll actually error out and be like, no, and then your effect will disappear. And you just have to go back to effects and then move it over here, which is good. So whenever you play the timeline, the video and whatever is playing on the timeline per se will pop up in the program panel. And the program panel, again, that's just a way of, you know, viewing what you have in the timeline. As you scrub through the timeline, you'll notice that the program panel will follow along most of the time if your computer's, you know, keeping up. If you scroll through the program panel, you'll notice that the timeline will be scrubbing as well. They're interlinked. Then there's also a couple of extra little panels that aren't included in the learning panel. Oh, by the way, the learning panel doesn't have effects. So if you want to add any panels, you can go simply to Window, and you can select any of the ones that you want to add here. I'm actually going to add effects controls, and I'm going to take this, and this is a perfect opportunity to show you guys, but I can grab the name of effect controls right here. Just grab, you click it, and I can move it over my source to the right here. Like I can move it there, I can move it here, which I am going to do. If I wanted to put it underneath, I could do it like that, and it's going to make this really small. But I'm going to just do this, and then I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to move it over just like that. So now I have my source and my effect controls. So when I'm trying to view what I'm trying to put down, I just simply run these two. And then when I have my whole timeline constructed and I want to start working on effects and keyframes and stuff, I switch this over to that and this over to that. And I'm working much more efficiently within my workspace. These are audio bars right here, and these are your selection tools for the timeline. I'll go over those in a minute. If I go over to color, you'll notice that there's like Lumetri scopes now, an audio clip mixer. I never worry about this. All it is just something to help mix audio. So for people who are like audio professionals and know a lot of stuff about that, this is a good tool for you to use unless you prefer using Adobe Audition or any third-party program for that matter that you would want to use. Lumetri scopes is basically just a color scoped thing. I'll actually show you guys what it looks like before the end of the video. It's cool and kind of psychedelic. The Lumetri color tab here is Premiere Pro's powerful color editing software. We will be going over this in its completely separate video. Like, it is a really cool little like color editing thing. It's not perfect, but it will save you the time from running into After Effects and doing a whole bunch of color editing there. It is a really powerful software, and as long as you know what you're doing in terms of like color editing, you can really get clips to look nice through Lumetri Color. Even some films you can make look like have that film look if that's what you're going for, like indie films and stuff like that. If you go to effects, all it does is just bring up some more effects tabs and stuff like that. The effects tabs over here. You have essential graphics, which I believe you can access through the graphics tab. Premiere Pro provides now, like Final Cut does, they provide a bunch of stock graphics for you to use in your videos and stuff like that with the purchase of the program. I believe all of them are copyright free, so you don't need to ever worry about like, oh man, I don't know if Premiere's going to let me use this in my YouTube video or whatever that I'm putting online, and they might hit me for copyright. I think you're actually all good with these. I know with Adobe stock, you're 100% good as long as you buy, or even the free ones. Oh, they have seasonal stuff. Oh my gosh, look at this. That's like super cool. I had no idea that those were there. Okay then. Well, alright. Well, that's pretty cool. So if you own Premiere, I guess you get some Adobe stock stuff for free, which is kind of nice. Oh wow, this is all really cool. Okay, anyway, I'm sorry, I was getting off track. Okay, so now that we know, I'm going to go back to learning. Now that we know that, I'm actually going to remove this as well. Workspaces. This is how you delete a workspace, by the way. If you don't want it up here, you just right click and then you say edit workspaces. You can delete that. Okay, so I have, these are my basic workspaces for Premiere. I have assembly and editing and stuff, but say I really like this learning one and I want to hold on to it. And I want to be able to change this back to the original learning thing just for the next, you know, happy-go-lucky person to come by and use Premiere to have access to the original learning workspace for them. What I can do here is I can go up to Window, Workspaces, and then I can say Save New Workspace, just like so. And as I had named the one that I just deleted, I'm going to name this Chad's Workspace. Don't worry, I didn't just delete like a really calculated workspace that I work with. A lot of my workspaces actually looks a lot like this. So I'm kind of showing you on the setup that I use. If you prefer to move any of this stuff anywhere else, you totally can. I know a lot of people, they like to run second monitors, and actually I'll show you how they do that. So say I want my program to be on this, like I have another monitor over to the left here, but say I want it to be over on that monitor. I can click this, I can say undock panel, and it'll turn it into its little own box. Then I can move it over here to my left monitor, and I can size it however I wish. I know you can't see that, but that would be, you know, how I do that. So then you're left with basically this whole huge thing here, and you can mess around and put more stuff here and do all sorts of fun stuff. However, I'm like, you know what, actually the 2 monitor setup, it's just not working out for me. Now, how do I put it back? Okay, it's simple, I promise. You just grab the name of program, just like you would move any other panel in the program around, and it'll actually turn it into an invisible sort of box, and it'll let you plug it back into the program. So if I want to move it back to where my source was, I just click that like so, and voila, we're back. And that's how that works. So now I'm going to import media. So I'm going to go to the assembly tab to show you this so that you can see all the different media that pops up here. So I'm going to double click this, and I'm going to scroll down here to YouTube projects, Premiere, getting started, and here's all the video that I'm going to be using to show you guys. If there's any people from Palm Desert High School watching, you'll remember that these are the clips that I have used for the district video, so it's a little bit of a throwback there. But I am going to open this, and it's going to import all these files. Awesome. Okay, so by now you probably have noticed that the source monitor has something in it, and that my cursor just teleported across the screen because I made a jump cut, and that down here we have sequences that have been started that I didn't go over. The reason for that is because this is not the first time I've recorded this video. In fact, I think this is my 4th go around at the ending of this video, simply because I've been having some issues with OBS. And I believe in one of my recordings, I'll actually put it at the very end of the video, I said I muted a track and then I had issues with it, and I unmuted it on accident while trying to show how to make a jump cut, and I played the clip over me talking, and I had my desktop volume set to 100%, and it completely just overpowered my voice. So now I'm going to teach you guys how to start a sequence. There's a few different ways. I have one that I prefer, but I will show you all the different ways just, you know, in case. Down here, there's a page. It says new item. You can click that and it'll give you a bunch of different options. Sequence is what you're going to click for this. And then you can see that there's a bunch of different options here. People sometimes pick these depending on their camera, especially if you have like a Red or XD cams or any of those sort of things that are expensive. But I don't do that because I have to pick an option here, and I always like to let the video decide for me. So another one is if you click Control N, it'll pull this up again. And then also if you go to File, New, and then you go to Sequence, where is it? There it is. It'll pull that up as well. What I prefer is taking this, which is our interview clip, by the way, and moving it over to here and simply dropping it. And then that'll give us a sequence right here with all. I'm going to mute this before I go any further because, geez. That'll give us a sequence right here with, you know, video that we can use and stuff like that. And so obviously you can see right here she's not talking. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just slide it right there. As you can see by our audio, there's a big place. So she's actually mic'd up. I don't believe you can see it on her, but she's mic'd up. And then there's a period where because I shot this interview, I believe I'm talking and giving her instructions, and then she probably says like, oh yeah, okay, so what do you want me to do? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut it up to her continuing to talk. So I'm gonna take the razor tool, which you can access by using C, and the move tool, by the way, is V, or you can just click it on the side here. I prefer clicking it, it's just easier in my mind. And then you click right on where the line here, the scrubber is. Then you go back to your move tool and you can move this over to about here. Then I can take the razor tool and I can cut that one more time, just like so. And now that I have this clip selected, just backspace, just make sure that you're clicked into. By the way, this blue line on the outside indicates where you're selected. Make sure you're selected in the timeline before you delete it because it won't do anything otherwise. And then you can just take this clip and you can move it over just like so. And if you look, you'll have a little jump cut. Boom. And that's that. So yeah, once again, everybody, thank you very much for joining me. Be sure to like and subscribe and spread the word about this. This is a new thing that I've been doing to try and get my channel a little bit more views before coming out with more shorts and stuff like that, just so that when I post the shorts on my channel, I have a, you know, an audience that I can, you know, have watched those and stuff like that. And so yeah, and I really enjoy doing these videos as well. So just maybe comment down below on what you guys would rather see next, either effects, color, or just how to make a coherent timeline and to properly edit your videos so that they make sense. I could probably combine a couple of those ideas into one video, so and that's probably what I'll do. But for now, this is what we got. So good luck, guys, and thanks.